Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Man, I hope everybody is having a blessed day. You know, man, was experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties, early this morning. I ended up, taking my computer to do some work at my in-laws' house, and I don't know what that did to my computer system. But when I plugged it back in this morning and was about to record the Sabbath message, the audio wasn't working. I updated, to a new operating system because I'm like, maybe that'll fix it. And it said that was going to take 20 to 30 minutes, and that turned out to be 3 hours. And, I sent out on the YouTube channel on my community tab, just letting you know that the message is coming, but it would be a bit delayed, and nothing wasn't going to stop me from putting out a message, even if I had to use my phone and go live from YouTube there. But all praise to the Most High Yah. I was able to get everything back, working and functional and good to go. And you never know, man. Sometimes when you're experiencing things in life, it just could be a normal technical difficulty, or it could be the adversary, coming against you to stop you from doing, what it is you're about to do. And today's message is titled, "What are you working for?" Man, first off, I want to welcome you. Maybe this is your first time ever experiencing a Sabbath, or experiencing or listening or watching a Sabbath teaching. And I want to say welcome to you. It doesn't matter if you are somebody that's, of a world religion, a different denomination of Christianity, or whatsoever. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. Today's teaching is going to cut through all of that. And I hope to say something that will edify you. Man, as we are in the last days, every time we come together and you tune in for a Shabbat message, man, things are always changing in the world. And we see biblically that in the last days, things are changing not in a righteous way. And the purpose of these teachings are to make sure that the flock of the Most High Yah is steadily being strengthened with truth, with the word, so they can bear the fruits of repentance. What are you working for? There's some people that cannot obey the commandments, or have a willingness not to obey the commandments because they have to work. And this is where this question, originates from. What are you working for? You have some people that say, man, I just don't have time to do all that Bible stuff. I don't have time to keep, the Feast of Unleavened Bread for 7 days, and, to keep the Passover feast. Man, I just want to go to church for about an hour and a half and be good. Get back to my life. Man, this message is going to drive home the point of the Most High Yah didn't want us doing a lot of the vain work that we oftentimes find ourselves doing. He wanted us working in righteousness. And at the end of this teaching, you will be able to ask yourself, man, am I working in righteousness? Welcome to all in Shabbat Shalom. I truly do, appreciate your view, you tuning in. Even if you tune in for 5 to 10 minutes, I truly appreciate that. Because hopefully I can say something in a 5 to 10 minute range that says, you know what, man, I need to, tap back in and check in with some of these messages. How to support the ministry. Hit the like button. A like goes a long way. You have no idea, because in the last days, man, people don't want to hear the truth. The Bible speaks about it. They want their ears tickled. They want to hear lukewarm messages, and messages of truth are going to be rejected by the masses. The least desirable, because they cut you deep, as they're designed to do. Subscribe to the channel. That way you can see, when I am, posting new content, and then turn your notifications on and set to all notifications. YouTube by default doesn't set it to all notifications. You have to manually hit that subscribe button, and select the all notifications bell. Share this video because right now, man, you look at this country overwhelmed with debt. Nobody's trying to balance the budget. My mission is not to try to help the country, balance their budget. My goal is to feed the flock, to feed the remnant, to teach the remnant something that they can, be fruitful in. Agenda. In today's Shabbat message, I'll be discussing the importance of faith and the works that are supposed to accompany it. We have been taught and have habits of working only for riches rather than to work out our salvation and experience the fullness of the blessings on the Bible. Think about as a man or as a woman the intent of your work from the moment you wake up. Are you working to simply have money, to be able to buy the things you need and want? Or are you working as a demonstration of obedience to the will of the Most High Yah? Today's message might reveal that you are working too hard in unfruitful areas and not working hard enough in righteousness. Man, I've got a separate video, coming out where I'm gonna detail how you can live off of one income today. A family can live off of one income today, contrary to what people would like you to think, contrary to popular belief. It is still possible, and I'm gonna detail that. And it's not as hard as you think. It's really not that hard as you think, and from the moment you wake up, the average westernized American man or a woman, says, man, I got to get up and go to work. But that work is trading your time for money. And money is just one of many resources. And when we look biblically, a man has a responsibility to be able to provide for his family. But the work of a woman biblically is defined differently than that of a man. If as a man, I don't go out and work, man, I'm worse than an infidel and denied the faith if I don't provide for those of my own household. But you look at the role of the biblical woman, and look at what we see in society, and we don't have people living up to the book. And the average person doesn't even realize that you're not working for necessities. A lot of the time that you spend away from your family, away from home, is for you working to acquire things instead of working out your salvation. Why are we here today? Exodus chapter 20, verses 8 through 11. You got some people, man, they are so caught up in a worldly work that they can't even, remember the Sabbath. And the Most High Yah, the Creator, He rested on the seventh day. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy Yahuwah. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy manservant nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle. So when you're reading about this, nor thy cattle, man, you're reading about an agricultural people that lived off the land. Nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the heaven and earth and the sea and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Wherefore Yahuwah blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Exodus chapter 31, verse 13. Speak also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahuwah Elohim, that doeth sanctify you. Man, you want to be a part of this. But in order to do so, you have to be obedient to the word. And for those people out there that, oftentimes I have people that think that, I'm a 7-day Adventist. No, I'm not. I'm not a part of that denomination. I'm a man that fears the Most High Yah and keeps His commandments. So just wanted to put that out there because this is one passage that the 7-day Adventists are very heavily on, but that is a man-made construct of religion that has some concepts that are outside of the Bible. And today the message is designed to get you back on, the fruit that you could produce righteously by simply working out your salvation. Luke chapter 4, verse 14 through 16. And Yahshua returned into the power of the Spirit into Galilee, and there went out a fame of him through all the region round about, and he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. So we see that it was a custom of Hamashiach to keep the Sabbath. You know, you didn't see Messiah saying, well, I landed this job where I got to use these carpentry skills, and that's the reason why I'm not going to be able to obey the will of the Most High. I get messages all the time from people asking me, you know, man, what do I do if I can't keep the Sabbath? It's either you do or you don't. There is no ultimatum when it comes to obedience to the commandments. Some of the feast days have an alternate timeline that you can do it, but there is no what if I can't. I mean, if you can't, then that's what's going to be on the record for your life. And today, man, I'm going to talk to you about something that will hone in the fact that maybe you may be putting too much of the vain work in the wrong areas, too much work in the wrong areas, and it's vain. Okay? Hebrews chapter 11, verses 6 through 11. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that comes to Elohim must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Okay? So diligently seeking him requires effort. That's not a once and done type thing. By faith, Noah, being warned of Elohim of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world and became heir to the righteousness which is by faith. You think about that, man. The Most High Yah gives you an instruction that he's going to spare you. And the instruction is for you to have a plan of escape, for you to be protected. Imagine what you've got on your schedule. Imagine what you've got on your plate. You know, you're saying, man, I ain't got no time to do that. Most High Yah tells you, hey, I want you to sell everything you got, and I want you to pack it up. I'm gonna take you to somewhere, to a place where it's flowing with milk and honey. The soil is great. You're like, man, I'm about to face a promotion. You know, they told me they're about to give me, partnership in this company. I'm about to be head supervisor. By faith, Abraham, when he was called out to go into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise. Come on, man. You're looking at him walking righteously into the land of promise. And as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Yaakov, their heirs with them the same promise. For he looked for a city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is Elohim. Through faith, Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Man, I want you to think about that, man. We have women out here today that have devoted their work to outside the home. And that's one reason why, they're battling fertility issues. That's one reason why they are putting off having children, which is a beautiful and righteous thing to do in the union of marriage. You legitimately have, in this daytime and hour, women that say, you know what? I don't, I'm not really, I just want to get this next promotion. I want to do X, Y, and Z before I have children. But you have to think, man, Sarah's womb was unlocked and blessed with a child due to her obedience. You have to think about that. Obedience, man, is your works. Let's keep going. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. For we walk by faith not by sight. Man, the problem is on a daily basis, we're not walking by faith. Oftentimes we're walking by covetousness. From the moment we wake up and you pull that phone out, you get on social media, you're looking what everybody else got. The algorithm is feeding you ads based upon active listening and things that you've talked about. If you've mentioned in your car the day prior as you drove by a dealership, man, those some nice cars over there. It's automatically looked at your location, looked what's in proximity, and now when you woke up the next morning, it's got all kind of Nissan and Chevy ads, and oh yeah, there's 0% interest for the first 12 months on any loan finance, 72 months. And you're not realizing, man, you're walking in a way that is by sight only, by things that you see and not by faith. Man, to forsake the way of the world, and to know that the Most High Yah will provide for you, that's walking in faith. But what our eyes see, our eyes won't, and that determines how much work we got to do to acquire these things. Only problem is you won't be able to take any of these things with you, and we'll talk about that. James chapter 2, verses 14. Let me get there. James chapter 2, verse 14 through 26. What does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he has faith and have not works? See, man, there's a lot of people that work in vain that believe. It's just they don't believe that they have to obey the instructions in the book. They don't believe they have to obey the command. When when you're talking to somebody about keeping the feast days, and you look at some of these feast days, man, Feast of Booth, Tabernacles, some of these feasts that require a couple days or unleavened bread, Passover, man, that's a 7-day feast. And if somebody is walking by sight, man, they believe in the Most High, but they don't believe that they have to obey his word as outlined in Exodus chapter 34. What does it profit, my brethren, though a man says he has faith and have not works? Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and any one of you say unto him, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding you've given them not the things which are needful to the body, what does it profit? And oftentimes, man, we're not able to fulfill the capacity of helping those in need, like the work says, because we're too busy trying to work to buy the things that we want. Even so, faith, if it has not works, is dead, being alone. Yeah, man may say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without works, and I will show you my faith by my works. You got to understand, man, when you have faith, there's a demonstration of that in your works. You believe that there is one Elohim, you do well. The devils also believe and tremble. But will you know, O vain man, listen to that. To be called vain, worthless, of no value. All your works, no importance to righteousness, no importance to the Most High Yah. But will you know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered his son upon the altar? See how faith wrought his works, and by works was faith made perfect. And the scripture was fulfilled which says, Abraham believed in Elohim, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called a friend of Elohim. You see that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Likewise, was not also Reshav or Rahab the harlot justified by works, when she had received the messengers and had sent them out the other way? What if Rahab would have said, you know what? My pimp is out here wanting me to turn another trick. I ain't got time to be doing all of this stuff. But it was counted to her as righteousness. For as the body without the ruach is dead, so faith without works is dead also. Romans chapter 12, verse 1. And the Bible version that I'm reading out of is the Sefer. Okay, Romans chapter 12, verse 1 through 3. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Elohim, that you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy. So just like the Most High Yah says, be holy as I am holy, you know, today is one of those days where he tells us to remember the Sabbath, to keep it holy. But if your mind is working on the things that you want and the things of the world, it's going to be hard for you to be able to demonstrate that level of obedience. That you present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable upon Elohim, which is your reasonable service. Man, you have to ask yourself, man, is your work in service of Elohim? Is it reasonable service? It might be reasonable to you carnally, but is it good works according to the Most High Yah? And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what it is that is good and acceptable and perfect will of Elohim. For I say, through grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly according to Elohim has dealt to every man the measure of his faith. You got to understand, man, when you're looking at people that are very obedient to the word, man, you're looking at the measure of their faith. And when you're looking at people that are disobedient to the word of Elohim, their measure of faith is very little. You know, and so you have some people, man, that they're going to put their needs and wants, and in a worldly sense, worldly people can't even differentiate between necessity and wants. So they will be caught up in this constant cycle of always wanting, stuff never being enough, you know, trying to keep up with the Joneses. And for that right there is why they don't obey the word. You know, today is the day where, the phone company said I can get a free iPhone 32 if I come today. And people don't realize you still going to have to finance this thing. They're going to charge your monthly bill. Your monthly bill is going to be higher. You might have a phone that's paid off. Romans chapter 3, verse 31. Do we then make void the Torah by faith? Never. Yeah, we establish the Torah. We uphold the Torah. We demonstrate. We perform. So, man, your works have to be in line with Torah. So when we think about that, you cannot say that you believe in the Most High Yah and work in places or work for corporations or companies or for people that are transgressors. You can't work for people like that because they're not going to support your walk. And the Most High Yah doesn't want us, walking in those ways of the world. He tells us, be not conformed to the world. I want you to understand, man, there's other communities that have a great example of, what it looks like to be self-sustaining and to be able to work out righteousness, some greater than others. Man, you look at the Amish community for an example. Man, these are people that have a community, and if you look at it, man, I've got a partner that's family is Amish, man. He says, man, they'll have 20 families and they'll have one electric pole with what looks like an outhouse, but it's actually got a phone in it. And you think about just to keep that phone powered, only bill that they might have is an actual light bill. Think about how much time they have to work the land, to live an agricultural lifestyle. I'm just using them as an example because, they believe in a simplistic way of living. I'm not saying that you got to go that far with it, but you can't, just because you don't want to go that far doesn't cap it off for somebody else. You got to think about how much fruit, they're able to produce and bear, able to live off the land, raise livestock. But then we've got, the average person walking around calling themselves a believer that's not bearing any fruit, that's not actually sowing any seed, physical seed. And you become very dependent on this system that's going to have you in a vicious cycle. Okay, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58. Let me get there. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast and immovable, always abounding in the work of Yahuwah. For as much as you know that your labor is not in vain in Yah. See, that's what we don't want. You don't want your labor to be in vain. See, the problem is, man, we have been sold this American dream, and it ain't no dream. It's a strong delusion. It's filled with debt. It's filled with producing bad fruit. You never can enjoy the small blessings because you're so caught up on, let me keep up with the Joneses. Whatever the current dream of that year is, if the dream of that year is many mansions, that's what you're going to be going out working for. If the dream is, high-end vehicles, when that's what you're going to be working for. On a daily basis, you're not working, you're not laboring in the will of the Most High Yah. Your labor is in vain. You got to think about how much stuff that we go out and work for money to be able to buy these things that we really don't need. You go by and look at the average person's closet. We're always looking for the latest and greatest, something to be able to stuff in this closet. We don't have no more room. Sisters out there, think about how hard you're working yourself if you're one of these independent women and you only got so much closet space. And because you've stuffed that thing to the max, now you're like, this home is no longer good enough for me and I want more. Brothers out here that's into shoes. At one point in time, man, I was into Jordans, and I had a whole bedroom wall stacked up with these shoes. Like, what are we working for? Is that working out your salvation? Or are you working for money, simply playing religious? Don't want our labor to be in vain. Colossians chapter 3, verse 23 through 24. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily as to Yahuwah and not unto men, knowing that of Yah you shall receive the reward of inheritance, for you serve Yahuwah the Mashiach. Man, there is no inheritance when you are following worldly ways. It's not the inheritance that the Most High Yah wants, you to have. And man, we can work. You got people working for money to try to force a blessing that ain't really a blessing in their life, and the stress, the anxiety. They never have time to sow seeds. Man, I tell you, man, if I would have kept going the way that I was living, we would have been on this trajectory of staying in a home three years, always moving. And guess what, man? We would have been, 60, 70, not having a home paid off. Some of these homes, man, you're financing and got a mortgage on, and they're falling apart. Things are going wrong on them 5 years, and you're still having to pay this astronomical amount of money. If you look at the average $200,000 house, they tell you on your paperwork, when you see that interest rate, you're up there negotiating. Oh, I got a 4 point. I got this. It says right below that on your promissory note, this is not your interest rate. Think about what I'm about to say next and how hard it causes you to work. Man, if you've got a 30-year mortgage on your home and you got it for $200,000, by the time it's all said and done, after you look at the amortization schedule, man, you've paid almost $750,000, depending on your interest rate, for that home. So if you break the math on that, man, you could have potentially, if you were working diligently, righteously, you could have had the same home in about 5 to 7 years, taking a different path of getting it. And, now in this daytime and era with tiny homes, off grid living, people are recognizing the very same thing that I'm talking about. And for some of you, you might have to start over if you can't pay off debt. I tell you right now, even my military service, man, takes me away from a lot of things that I could do. Like if you check out my other channel, Rocker Family Homestead, man, you'll see some of the works that I'm able to do in sowing seed and working land. But think about, man, if we weren't so dependent on stuff and were dependent on the Most High Yah, think about the fruit that you would be able to bear. My small garden where I grow food could be, 4 or 5 times the size if I woke up with that on my mind, knowing that money is only a resource. It's not the only resource, but the amount of work that we put in the world, man, we treat money like it's the only resource. Use it as an example, man. The Amish community, they don't have to worry about no car payment. They don't have to worry about increasing gas prices. We're driving these cars, man, and we're like, man, gas just went up. Diesel just went up. Electrical costs going up. They've been living the same way for years. And what they're doing ain't nothing but a spinoff of the way that the biblical people live. I'm just using them as an example. I'm not saying you got to follow what they believe, but I'm talking about the simplistic form of life. Hebrews chapter 6, 10 through 5, 10 through 15. For Elohim is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which you have shown toward his name, in that you have ministered to the saints and do minister, and we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope until the end. Man, when you think about your labor of love, man, oftentimes, man, we say, well, I got to work to be able to provide food. Okay. Most High Yah in Genesis gave you a great demonstration of how you can have food. But guess what? Our labor of love, this is what in a carnal sense we call a labor of love. Going out, working for some money, and then we take that money and then we go buy highly processed, GMO modified food, stuff made in a lab. Pretty soon we're going to have lab meat if you ain't been paying attention to it. That's our labor of love. And then you've got people that say, you know what? I'm going to take this one seed and I'm going to plant me something. And it's going to bear fruit. And that fruit is going to have seeds. And I'm going to save those seeds until the next time I plant. And then I'm going to bear some more fruit. You got to think about it. Every onion, every bell pepper, every orange, everything that you might go buy that produces seed, oftentimes we don't even want to make compost out of it. We'd rather take our hard-earned money and go buy store-bought compost that's not as natural as they say it is. We'd rather take our store-bought money. We'd rather take our money that we earn in the world and go buy seeds instead of collecting the seeds off of the fruit that we already have. Why? Because we don't have time. We don't have time. Man, when you desire so much stuff and so many things, your time is consumed with trying to acquire these things rather than working out your salvation. Let's keep going. And we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end, that you be not slothful, but followers of them through faith and patience inherit promises. See, this is working in the will of the Most High Yah. For when Elohim made a promise to Abraham, because he could swear by no greater, he swore by himself, saying, surely blessings I will bless you, and multiplying I will multiply you. And so after he had patiently endured, he obtained the promise. Problem is, we're spending most of our time enduring in places that have nothing to do with the will of the Most High Yah. What I'm not saying is, I'm not telling you as a man that you can just cut your job off. No, this is going to be the process of coming out, learning to say no. You know, right now, you got people out there that's got every music subscription. You got almost every doggone movie subscription. You got HBO Max, you got Hulu, you got Netflix, you got all of this stuff. Man, we're living in a daytime and hour where, man, there's so many different free streaming services that's coming on some of these TVs that if you were really willing to reduce your overhead, man, you could cancel all that stuff and just use the free stuff. You know, how far are you willing to go in this thing? You got to understand, man, there's some households out there to where you have a woman and a man working, the man being the primary provider, the biblical role of being a provider. And then you've got a woman going out, spending just as much time in the workplace, and her income is going solely to daycare bills. Think about what you would be able to do if that was righteous, her work was righteously being able to use in the home, fulfilling the role of a biblical woman. You know, oftentimes, man, that overtime that we're working as men, you know, your supervisor comes to you, says, yeah, man, they're paying time and a half. They're paying, 2 times the normal rate. And say, I'm gonna need you to work Saturday and Sunday. Think about, man, if you've got your mind on, man, I gotta be able to get these NFL tickets, man. I gotta be able to get these good seats. It's in that moment, man, you're not working out your salvation. You're willing to violate the commandments of the Most High Yah for an experience, for a simple thing, something that you want, something that's not necessities. You know, in its past couple of years, man, I've been trying to, being from somebody that was working for a lot of vanity as a man, and wanting a lot of shoes and stuff like that. Man, I try to wear one good pair of boots, and when those wear out, then I replace them. But having all of this variety and stuff, man, this is what our years and our youth is going towards. It's going towards stuff. Think about how much stuff that we buy, and we're so not useful of the stuff that we have. Somebody was able to start a business off of selling the stuff that we no longer have use for, but we paid full price for. Goodwill. Think about how much more time you would have to focus on your walk with the Most High Yah if you simply said no to some of the things of the world. You got to think, man, biblically, we read about keeping new moons, Old Testament, renewed covenant. But when you think about obedience to that, what's going to stop it? People say, well, I got work. The work that you're doing is what's coming in between the Most High Yah. That's not the work he wanted you to do. That's not the work he wanted you to do. It does you no good to be a millionaire. Does you no good to be a business owner. Does you no good to make $300,000, all for you to get to judgment and haven't obeyed anything that the Most High Yah has said. You can find out your works are in vain, just like people will be told, part ways, for I never knew you, you workers of iniquity. He didn't doubt that you don't believe. It's just you believe that you didn't have to obey. Philippians chapter 2, verse 12 through 13. Wherefore, my beloved, if you have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is Elohim which works in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Think about what we spend our time trying to do. We try to spend our time working for our good pleasure and not Elohim's good pleasure. And this is why we're caught up in a vicious cycle, oftentimes of debt, inflation, man, shout out to Ock Pierce over at To Be Better. Shout out to the Covenant Homestead, man. Both of those brothers have been dropping some great videos that, are a call to obedience of the work and lifestyle that we're supposed to be living. In this daytime and hour, man, you got to be resourceful. If you want to do the work, man, you got to be resourceful. The Messiah wasn't saying, man, let me get these Louis Vuitton sandals before I go up in front of these well-dressed people. He went with what he had. But what do we think? Man, I need a new outfit before I go here and do this. And this is the problem why we're stuck. This is the problem why people can't come out. Man, I went to a Dallas Sabbath day convocation, and I remember Shepherd Dow asking some of the people, he said, hey, man, I saw some of you people, here years ago when I came. How come you haven't came out? He asked, are you still in the same spot? What efforts have you made? What strides have you made to come out? Some people hadn't made any strides. You got to think, when you're not working for the will of the Most High Yah, you're not going to make any strides of coming out. You pay off a little bit of debt and you're like, woo, I paid it off. But you're caught up in a vicious cycle. What do? You go back out there and get some more debt that you really don't need. Let's keep going. Hosea chapter 10, 12 through 13. Sow yourselves in righteousness, reap in mercy, break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek Yahuwah, till he come and rain righteousness upon you. You have plowed wickedness, you have reaped iniquity, you have eaten the fruit of lies, because you trusted in your way, and the multitude of your mighty men. Man, there are people out there that are pretty much agents of Hasatan, telling you something contrary to what this word says than the message I'm giving you. And what they're doing is they're putting vanity in front of your eyes and telling you this is the new gold, this is the new wave, this is the new trend. You got to understand, man, you got more people 18 and 20 years old that are more in a state of mind, more in a position to carry out what I'm talking about right now. But guess what? Who they're getting fed by? They're getting fed by these people that are telling them retire early, be a millionaire by the age of 30. Man, there's a generation of 50 and 60-year-old people that fell for that same stuff and are having to go back to work because they tried to maintain this lifestyle of having all this stuff, and nobody told them the truth. Simplistic living, being resourceful off of what the Most High Yah has. You got to think, man, you've got people that have homes. Man, I'm in Lowe's, man, and Sometimes I enter in a conversation. I'm asking people, I see them have their carts full of all these beautiful flowers, all of this stuff. And I'm asking, like, do you grow any food as well? And some people is just like, nah, I just grow these flowers. And I'm like, man, if I'm growing any kind of flowers around, it's to attract bees to pollinate some of this food that I'm growing, you know? But there's so many different things that can suck up the resource of money that you go out and work for to have these things. Man, it says, you have plowed in wickedness, you have reaped iniquity, you have eaten the fruit of lies. Man, they sold us a lie. You got to think about, man, your vegetable section in the grocery store is not even truth anymore. You're not even getting true vegetables in the state that the Most High Yah put it here. Everything has been altered. It used to be you could count on the vegetable section, the outside sections to be your truth, and the middle sections to be the deception, the highly processed. But that's not the way it is anymore. Let's go to Titus chapter 3, verse 14. Titus 3:14. And let ours also learn to maintain good works for necessary uses, that they be not unfruitful. You have to think, man, we have to get out of the mindset of working for things and get more in the mindset of working for assets and working for the will of the Most High. When you're working for the will of the Most High Yah, you're going to have assets. When you're working for things, man, you're going to have debt. You're going to have debt. You have to think, man, we'll go out and work for $1. I'm talking about not $1, but money, which is a currency. People don't understand that when you're looking at a $20 bill, you take a $100 bill to the grocery store, you're not looking at actual money. What you're looking at is currency. Something that has been generated by the system, and currency only can be used in a certain boundary. That's why when you go to another country with your country's currency, there's an exchange rate. I experienced this when I lived in Europe. The dollar was doing very bad. And I want you to think about, man, if the dollar were to go to zero in value in this country, what would you be working for? And that'll be the real reality of what you've been working for the whole time. We rather work for this currency and be taxed upon tax upon tax. I didn't understand this until I became a business owner. There's being a business owner and what my family does, man, I can work 3 hours in one day at most and make more than I was making, man, when I was, 18 and 19 and 20 years old in the military, working sometimes 12 hours a day. But I tell you, man, we weren't able to start a family business and have any success and be closed on the Shabbat as well as feast days if it wasn't for our faithful obedience to the word of the Most High Yah. Man, living life in this rat race is not going to bear good fruit. It's not going to bear much fruit. It's not designed for you to bear much fruit. Man, it would be better if you were in a rural area and you could go lend a hand to neighbors that had resources that you needed, and you get paid in resources. Like I walk 50 yards, and you'll see cows. And these ranch hands around here are constantly looking for, these ranchers are looking for people to work. But we don't have anybody. There's not too many men that want to do laboring work. Think about, you could go work 2-3 weeks with somebody and get a whole cow, cow and a half. That's meat to feed your whole family. Y'all eating good whole year off of 2-3 weeks worth of work. But here we are working for currency, buying this stuff filled with all kind of chemicals. May not even be meat. Maybe coming from another country, Australia. Man, and we wonder why we're so stressed. We wonder why we're so sick as a people. You know, if everybody wasn't caught up in the rabbit race, man, it'd be easy to find a brother that could commit himself to you for 2 to 3 weeks to help you build your house. Man, I'm just seeing this in my own life as I, do small building projects on our homestead. Pouring concrete, building frame walls, learning how to insulate, learning how to build rafters. I'm starting to see this like, man, woo. This stuff, we are overpaying. You got to understand, if you look at the carpenters that build houses for builders, they don't get paid that much. A lot of these people that you see entry level that's doing the majority, they don't get paid that much. Who's making the money? The banks, the mortgage companies. Man, they're getting $550,000 profit off of you selling you $100,000 house for $200,000. So that 30-year mortgage, $750,000. The builder and the bank is the ones winning. You ain't winning. Man, talking with Ock Pierce yesterday, he said, man, not many people will get to enjoy their home. I said, man, get to enjoy it. By saying, man, this thing paid off and all I got to do is just maintain it. You got thousands of people that will die never paying off their home. They've been working to put money in somebody else's pocket whole time. Instead of, man, there's so many blessings and so much fruit to be bared off of walking in righteousness, working out your salvation. Most of y'all he's not going to let you starve on your walk. He's not going to let you starve on your walk. But we act like, man, you got to think, man, oftentimes when we're working this hard in the world to have these things, man, that shows a lack of faith. That we don't believe that he will provide. Let's go to James chapter 1, verse 22 through 27. But be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he beholds himself and goes his way, and straightway forgets about the manner of man he was. But also looks into the perfect Torah of liberty, and continues therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. Come on, man. So we've got deeds that are unfruitful, deeds that have nothing to do with the will of the Most High Yah, and it's the doers of the word that are blessed. See, man, I was talking to Ock Pierce yesterday, and we were talking about how the only blessing people have been conditioned to want is money or is currency. People feel like they're not blessed if they don't have $50,000, $100,000, $1 million in their bank account. That's why you have so many people. Well, my goal is to be a millionaire. My goal to be a millionaire went out the window when I made my goal working out this salvation. Long as you've got enough, the Most High Yah says he will supply your every need. He didn't say he would supply your every want. A lot of your wants don't have nothing to do with salvation, don't have nothing to do with the will of Yah, but yet you're willing to miss out on the kingdom for it, for these inheritance, for these promises. If any man among you seems to be observant and bridles not his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man observance is in vain. Pure observance and undefiled before Elohim and the Father is to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction and to keep himself unspotted from the world. Man, I remember when I was in a Christian church and the pastors would be like, you need to strive to make it to church on Sunday. Biggest scam in the book. That's not the day we're commanded to keep. But why do they tell you that? Because they're profiting off the backs of lost people. You go out and work to give these people currency. You ain't giving them money, you giving them currency. And when you need something, they tell you to pray about it. When they need something, they just tickle your ears and you open up that wallet. You have to think about pure observance, undefiled before Elohim the Father is, to visit the fatherless and widows. Man, you thinking about, man, I ain't got time to do that. Why? Why don't you have time to do that? Think about what your time is spent doing. Working for things. Some people work so hard in vain that they settle for religion. Righteousness is too high to strive for. So I'm going to just settle for this religion because I really don't have the time. And it's telling you, man, your religion, pure observance, pure worship. The KJV says your religion, pure religion, undefiled. See, a lot of people don't realize, man, they got a defiled religion due to the life they live. It says, and to keep himself unspotted from the world. So some of these different narratives and agendas and rat races and different things that the world is doing, man, we can't get caught up in. This Most High Yah gave us a simple way of living. And coming out of a system that's not meant for you to be blessed, and adopting and learning the way, being a doer of the word, of a system that was designed for you to be blessed if you obey it. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 18 through 19. They that do good, they that be rich in good works. Oh man, it didn't say rich in currency. It didn't say rich in money. They that do good. Good according to who? Not your carnal flesh. We're talking about the will of Elohim. They that do good, they that be rich in good works, ready to distribute. Come on, man. Willing to communicate. Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come. Come on, man. Judgment is coming. And if you've got all these vain works, you ain't stored up for judgment. This book talks about famine. You've got highly religious people that work in vain that have stored no food. They're going to wait till the famine comes, not know how to grow any food, not know how to produce anything, any fruit themselves, because they've spent their whole life working for currency. And you know what they're going to do? When you tell them, hey, you probably need to store up because the day is coming. Well, God hadn't led me to do that yet. I'm going to just pray about it. Telling you. Laying up in store for themselves a good foundation against the time to come, that they may lay hold on eternal life. Didn't it say work out your salvation? So you can't work in vain and be working out your salvation. There's two different paths. You got to understand, man, there was once a point in time to where American people, there were no gyms, there was no gym memberships. There was no need to run on that treadmill. You didn't have the strength of a man being diluted down to all men need to have six-pack abs. Why? Because men were working in those fields. They were behind that mule, behind that donkey, behind that ass. Plowing these fields. sowing beans, sowing different things in the ground. The women were laborsome. There wasn't this hamburger helper box meal. No, it was take raw ingredients and make it into something delicious, something more nutritious and beneficial for your family. That was a historical labor of love. And we are called to have faithful obedience to that type of lifestyle as outlined in the book. Because when you're working in vain, man, you'll be willing to feed your children poison. You'll be willing to feed yourself poison. You got some people are so caught up on working for currency, they would literally, because they say they don't have time. And the Most High Yah, whether you realize it or not, he's giving you time. But you're using it in vain, and you will eat yourself. You will eat poison until you eat yourself to a serious health condition. Eat yourself to death. Because why? We can't give up those wants. We can't give up those things that we don't need. Exodus chapter 20, verses 17. You shall not lust after your neighbor's house. You shall not lust after your neighbor's woman, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is your neighbor's. It's a big problem, man. And I didn't realize that once I moved out of the city and lived in a rural area, man, I no longer cared about what my neighbors had because there was so much distance between these houses. Man, when I lived in an HOA neighborhood, you know, we had no space. They really didn't want us gardening. They really didn't want us living off the land. Oh, it looks too much clutter back there. You know, you see a neighbor bringing a new 80-inch TV in the house. Next thing you know, the thought in your mind, man, you know what? Man, this TV that I got that's perfectly fine, working good. Something's wrong with it. I need me an 80-inch. Start coveting after things that are of your neighbor. Man, your neighbor who's got that same 30-year mortgage you got. You know, I used to want a Corvette, man. Back 5 years ago, man, I wanted a Corvette. You know? And I was like, man, I'm going to get me a Corvette. I was willing to get a Corvette and still have a mortgage payment. I'm telling you, this stuff is backwards, man. This way of thinking is backwards. I ain't got nothing. I have no desire to have a Corvette. There's nothing wrong with having a Corvette. It's just how much vain work are you willing to put in for it? You ask me now, I still got things that I want, really don't have a need for at this moment. The timing is not right. You know, rather than a Corvette, I'd rather have a tractor. Because I could bear more fruit. That Corvette ain't gonna do nothing but give me a good feel good. I live on dirt and gravel roads. Them rocks and stuff would tear up that paint. And what are you gonna do? Now that becomes, some of these things, man, come between you and your obedience to the Most High Yah. Back then when I wanted that, I knew nothing of the Sabbath. I had a tradition of every Saturday, man, I would get up and take the cars to go to the car wash and go get them washed and put a Armor All on the tire. Man, I ain't got no need for that stuff no more. No desire for that stuff. No, it's not a need, but I wanted that stuff back then. And think about it. If the Most High Yah did bless, you with this, and you started to forsake his ways because you got it. Sometimes the Most High Yah is not even blessing you with this stuff. It's you working in vain trying to make your own blessing. Man, that spirit of covetousness is something that will stop you dead in your tracks from coming out. Okay? Colossians 3:5. Let me get there. Colossians 3:5. Mortify or put to death, therefore, the things or your members which are upon earth, fornication, uncleanliness, inordinate affection, evil lusting, and covetousness, which is idolatry. Bro, so we don't even realize how some of these things, covetousness, is tied to idolatry. It's idolatry. The fact that you start to worship currency, that's idolatry. Most of y'all want you to see it as one of many resources that can be used. Man, you've got people in this, you be surprised, like, you've got people in this country, and I've talked about some of them in this community. Man, there's a guy that I watch on YouTube. He's got his own little ministry, but he don't wear no shoes. That joker live in the wood with his wife and children, and they maintain off of like $50 a month. $50 a month. That joker can survive. And I'm like, man, this is wild. $50 a month. And I think he's got a cell phone. That's how he uploads his content. I'm thankful to be able to see stuff like that, because when you're stuck in this rat race to wear the world, you be like, man, ain't no way in the world I can do this. And I'm sitting up here watching this man grow stuff, having fresh harvests and harvesting it for stuff that we go out into the world and pay money for. He doesn't barter with big box stores. He harvests with people that bear fruit, and he exchanges with them. And I said, man, that's crazy. He don't have no health issues, no none of that. Look at what we spend our time doing. Luke chapter 12, verse 15. And he said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consists not in the abundance of things which he possesses. Man, you ain't gonna be able to take none of this stuff with you. And man, I realize how content you can be, oftentimes when I was forced to be content, because on a deployment, man, this little area that I record in is not a whole room. It's just a corner of a room that I record this video, and we got other uses for this room. But man, when I was in the deployment, man, both deployments, man, I stayed in an area where it was probably no bigger than this. I had a wall locker, I had a bed, and I had a nightstand. And there was multiple people that had that same setup. And you become used to it. I didn't have 13, 14, 15 different wall outlets. Man, I had one outlet that I had to use. And if I wanted to plug something in, I had to use it in rotation. Man, I've got neighbors that live in a small metal building. About a half a mile down the road from me, that live in a small metal building. People will walk by and say, man, I don't know how they living in that shack. But I guarantee you what, they ain't caught up in the rat race. I see them available, able to do things that the average working person don't have the time to do. Because we're out here working to have an abundance of things. Man, the older generation, man, they was working for furniture that you couldn't sit on because it was plastic wrapped. Like, what are we doing? Working for fine china that never really gets used. And then when you die, they sell it at an estate sale for a third of the price of the currency that you worked for and paid for this stuff. You can't make it up. Let's keep going. Ecclesiasticus chapter 40, verse 20. Ecclesiasticus chapter 4, verse 20. Observe the opportunity and beware of evil, and be not ashamed when it concerns your soul. Man, there are some jobs. There are some employment opportunities. There is some work that will cause you not to work out your salvation because they consume so much of your time. And observe the opportunity. Be mindful of the opportunity, man. That's a great opportunity, but it's not the opportunity that I need to be on as a righteous man or a woman. Imagine if you take an opportunity and you're well, a lot of times with these opportunities, you're thinking about all of this stuff that you can buy and acquire, all of this abundance of things, and you don't turn it down because you're not thinking about your salvation. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 1. Set your heart upon your goods and say not, I have enough for my life. Follow not your own mind, your strength, for to walk in the ways of your heart, and say not, who shall control me for my works? For Yahweh will surely revenge your pride. So that's a mindset. Ain't nobody, I believe in that Bible stuff, but ain't nobody about to control my work. It's oftentimes why we don't have the time, or we have the time, but we choose not to use our time wisely to work out our salvation and to bear fruit. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verse 8. Set not your heart upon goods unjustly gotten, for they shall not profit you in the day of calamity. I tell you, man, if I would have died in my early age and had that wall full of Jordans, jewelry, and all of this stuff ain't gonna profit you. Buying little gold grills back there, stuff ain't gonna profit you. As a woman, man, you got the finest makeup collection. You got all the different stuff. You got all the different red bottoms, stilettos. You got it all. All the different handbags. What have you done to work out your salvation? How much time have you spent trying to acquire the abundance of things, only to find out that you're defiled, you're unworthy of being in the kingdom, you're a worker of iniquity? Hebrews 13:5. Let your conversations be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have, for Yahweh has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Man, it didn't say that he was going, it didn't say, I'm going to give you a mansion, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that. But man, oftentimes as believers, man, we're not content with the basics. Carnally, we start to say the things that we want are necessities, when they are not. They're wants. You will survive. You will survive. Let your conversations be without covetousness. So oftentimes, man, when you speak something into existence, your work and your way of life will soon follow behind that. You got people out there that say, man, you know what? In 2025, my goal is to be able to buy a house. They don't realize, what you're really doing is financing a house. 3.5 times the actual value is what the mortgage company is going to make in profits. And what do? You go out and buy this big old house. You got people out there that go out there and finance these big old houses and are already struggling to keep clean what they have. You got people out there that the American dream is failing people right now. They're buying these houses, these new construction homes, finding out their property taxes are a lot higher, and they are locked into this stuff. Market is so jacked up, they can't even sell it. They can't even liquidate. Man, at the beginning of the Roman New Year, you can see this stuff on social media, man. People putting up their worldly goals, man. This is the year a man's going to buy me a 5-carat wedding ring. You got to think about it, man. If your mind is as vain as that as a woman already, I already know you don't bear the fruit bear the fruits of repentance. But you want to go a man to go out and work to buy you this vain symbol of the union between man and woman. It's not worth it. Not worth it at all. You know? From the womb to the dirt. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Now, oftentimes we don't understand, man, when you're born in this world, man, you've got the hair on your body. You know, you're going to leave this world with what you came in this world with, which is nothing. But you can bet your bottom dollar that if you have not hearkened to the wisdom and the word of the Most High Yah, heart, mind, body, and soul, a lot of your work is going to be in vain. Majority of your work will be in vain. At judgment, all of the stuff that you have done, even religious people that's got a form of godliness, it won't profit them. In the book, it says they'll be told to part ways. The Pharisees was doing all these different works and stuff for money. The religious people of the book, they was judging for reward. They was doing divination for money, for currency. Not because their obedience and faithfulness to the Most High Yah. Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But seek ye first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all things shall be added to you. Think about that from the first time you open your eyes in the morning. What are you seeking out? Seeking out that phone. Seeking out Instagram. Seeking out email. Let me see if my boss emailed me in the middle of the night. Look at our loyalty to the system. I want you to understand, man, we grab that phone. Let me seek out the weather. You wouldn't have to worry about no weather if the Most High Yah would have let them death angels come after you. You wouldn't have to worry about no weather. I guarantee you. The forecast would have been dark from the way forward if the Most High Yah had not been merciful on you in your current state of life. And we go on years after years after years like this. Matthew chapter 16, verse 26. So at the beginning of every day, man, we need to, seek out the kingdom of Elohim. What is it that the Most High Yah wants me to do? That's what Mashiach did. He said, I come to do the will of him who sent me. He could have easily, if he wasn't led of the Ruach, been making a lot of wealth like the Pharisees and different things, like doing all of these hustles they had. He could have easily been doing that. But he said, I come to do the will of him who sent me. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9 through 10. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and to many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil. It didn't say money is evil. It says the love of it. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after. Man, there's so many people. You think about tax refund season. You got so many people that want to get on there, just plumb ignorant, get on there and will flash their tax return in $20 bills, $100 bills, and they wonder why they're getting robbed. They got an Amazon package in the same video where people can see their address. Which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves, though with many sorrows. But you, O man of Elohim, flee these things and follow after righteousness, virtue, faith, love, patience, and meekness. Fight the good fight of faith. Lay hold on eternal life. Lay hold on eternal life. Waking up every day, laying hold to the world. Wonder why Most High Yah is not moving in your life, because you have forsaken him. You haven't chosen Yah. You've chosen the world. Sad. Luke chapter 12, Luke chapter 12, verse 31 through 34. But rather seek you the kingdom of Elohim, and all things shall be added to you. See, the problem is we try to carnally think about what should be in the kingdom, and we try to associate that to the things that our carnal flesh wants. And that's the only reason why people have a very little obedience to the Most High Yah, because they're expecting a magnitude but not wanting to obey the fullness of the word. But rather seek you the kingdom of Elohim, and all things shall be added to you unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Oh, whew, here we go. Here we go. Sell that you have and give alms. Provide yourself bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that fail not, where no thief approaches, neither moth corrupts. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Let your loins be girded about and your lights burning, and you yourselves like unto men that wait for their Adonai, when he will return from the wedding, that when he comes and knocks, they may be open unto him immediately. Man. Blessed are those servants whom the Adonai, when he comes, shall find watching. Amen, I say unto you, that he shall gird himself and make them sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them. Man. Blessed are the servants. We spend our whole life, man, being self-servant. You know, and no matter how you spin it carnally as a woman or a man, you know, man, I'm trying to work to get my child that new video game. Man, think about how that video game would be a distraction in their life. And when it comes down to what the Most High Yah asks us to do, you know, well, why do I gotta keep the Sabbath, Dad? Why do I gotta keep the Sabbath, Mom? I just want to play my video game like the other children do. This is the stuff we as parents go out and work hard in vain to give our children. Well, I got to give them a better life than I had. Wasn't nothing wrong with your life. See, what happened was you had a childhood where you were covetous. That spirit of covetousness was on you as a child. You were looking at what everybody else had instead of looking at that bowl of beans and that piece of cornbread, thanking the Most High Yah. You was giving hell to a Roman Greek deity every time you said your prayer. You really didn't thank the Most High Yah. You know, you had clothes on your back as a child, shoes on your feet. You had everything that you were supposed to have. But that spirit of covetousness, man, you'll look at the child that has the FUBU. It's got the Anichi, you know, it's got the Rockaware. That lets you know I got just a little age on me. You say, man, I want that. You really don't want it. You want the attention that it brings. And that attention don't bear the fruit of repentance. It don't bear the fruit of righteousness. I'm telling you, man, from the womb to the dirt. Just as you came in, a naked baby, you gonna disintegrate. I don't give a dang if they put the most. You got some of these places of worship that's got religious dress codes. Not because the Bible says so, because that's what they want to come up. I don't give a dang if they dress you in your casket. Don't change the fact that your name may not be written in that Lamb's Book of Life. For dang sure don't change that. Flesh that wants. Let's go to 1 John 2:15. Let's go to 1 John 2, verse 15 through 17. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world is the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but of this world. And the world passes away in the lust thereof, but he that does the will of Elohim abides forever. If you love the stuff that's in this world, you willing to spend your whole life going out there and working in order to obtain it. Ecclesiasticus 11, Ecclesiasticus chapter 11, verses 20 through 22. Be steadfast in your covenant, and be conversant therein, and wax old in your work. Marvel not at the works of sinners. Oh, woo! You understand, man. You got children of Yashriel that marvel at the works of sinners, at the works of prodigious, rebellious, reprobate people. You see the stuff that they have, and you carnally say, it's a carnal thought to say, man, the Most High is blessing them in abundance. God is blessing them in abundance, and they living in sin. This is why the Most High tells you, marvel not at the works of sinners, but trust in Yahweh and abide in your labor. For it is an easy thing in the sight of Yahweh on the sudden to make a poor man rich. Man. Let's see. The blessings of Yahweh is in the reward of the holy, and suddenly he makes his blessing flourish. Man. You know, oftentimes cutting off your eye gates from seeing a lot of this stuff is what will ultimately allow you to turn and to have a change of mind from this covetous spirit. Yep. Ecclesiasticus 14, verse 8 through 11. The envious man has a wicked eye. He turns away his face and despises men. A covetous man's eye is not satisfied with his portion, and the iniquity of the wicked dries up his soul. A wicked eye envies his bread, and he is ungenerous at his table. I tell you, man, if your parents, you know, they're watching TikTok, these little feeds, and children is eating ice cream and doing all kinds of challenges, they start to get into the mindset, man, I'm supposed to be eating like that every meal. These little kids on TikTok, man, they eating ice cream. They was eating crab legs and all of this non-stuff. And your children, if you don't rectify it early on, will be sitting out there looking at the food that you have put in front of them. Could be good food, good healthy food, pushing it away. I don't want it. Why are we eating this struggle meal? Seems like when the minute somebody says what everybody else, seems like everybody else in the world is eating better than we eating. That's letting you know it's a spirit of covetousness. It's letting you know. Let's go to Proverbs 21, verse 25. This is the consequences. 21:25. The desire of a slothful man kills him, for his hands refuse to labor. He covets greedily all day long, but the righteous gives and spares not. Think about that. Think about that right there. Man, we got a generation of entitled men. Air-conditioned babies, don't want to labor, don't want to get these dirty. And the most there ain't no way you're going to be able to live a set-apart life and you ain't willing to get these dirty. You want to sit around all day in the AC. Well, guess what you're going to be running up? An electric bill. Running up your doggone wear and tear on your AC unit. Give that AC unit a break and get out there and work with these. We're so used to comfort, we'll say, man, let me leave all this stuff on, set the temperature so when it comes back, I'm nice and comfortable. For real. Man, I lived a whole 3 years in Germany, man. No AC whatsoever. You know what? You grew accustomed to it. Get you a little vanilla folder, a little fan, give yourself a little air, you be good. Grew accustomed to it. It helped that these homes were built with the flow of the wind. When they build these homes, they look at the flow of wind in these areas, and they put the windows in the direct path of the flow so the breeze would flow through the home. You look at the way these homes constructed now, not the same. Proverbs 22, verse 7. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is a servant to the lender. You know, the new flex in the last days is living debt free. That's the flex. Living debt free. You know, coming out from these systems that want to keep us in debt. Getting them phone calls on your phone. Hey, sir, man, we see, man, you've been a great customer for 20 years. Man, you've been faithfully paying your mortgage. You know, we've got a great refinance offer where we can get you 50 grand. You got to understand, anytime these heathens is offering you 50 grand, you might as well expect that if they're going to start that cycle over again, if they're going to be willing to give you 50, they probably going to make an upwards of $250,000 off your ignorance. You are at the point in your doggone mortgage and the amortization schedule where they're not making a lot of money off interest, but a majority of your money is going towards the principal. And then these heathens call you up with their trickery, with their food. Hey, would you like to refinance? This is Brian from your local facility. This is Sheila just calling to help you out. I know at your age and as diligent as you are, $50,000 could do you a lot of good. This is the systems out there that try to keep you in debt. Let's go to Psalms. Psalms 37, 21. The wicked borrows and pays again, but the righteous shows mercy and gives. I mean, this is pretty blunt, pretty straightforward. Ecclesiastes 5, verse 10. That's not. I went to the wrong book. 5, verse 10. He that loves silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loves the abundance with increase. This is also vanity. I ain't gonna profit you in the end. This is the consequences. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 22, verse 2. A slothful man is compared to the filth of a dunghill. Every man that takes it up will shake his hand. In German, a slothful man is compared to a filth of a Shiza hill. Every man that take it up will shake his hand. Imagine having, this is saying your laziness is the same as having dog poop on your hand and shaking a hand. It just rubs off on other people. And that's honestly, sometimes we don't look at our slothfulness in vain works. We're lazy towards the will of Yah. You might be out there working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, but that's for your will. You're not working. You know, you got people that go to church on a day that ain't commanded for an hour and a half, and they say, I'm following JC. He came to do the will of the Most High Yah, and you leaving your home to do your will. Your walk is not the same. Luke chapter 14, verse 28. Let's get there. For which of you intending to build a tower sits not down first, counts the cost, whether he has sufficient to finish it? Lest haply after he has laid the foundation is not able to finish it, behold, it began to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Man, I want you to think, man, right now, homesteading, living off the land, living off grid is a trend. And I'll tell you, man, you got some people that are doing that outside the will of Yah. And that lifestyle in itself is not going to spare you. When judgment comes, I mean, you're gonna still face it, because you are not doing it in faithful obedience to the will of the Most High Yah. You got people escaping the rat race that want nothing to do with righteousness. So I'm telling you, man, if you got people that are willing to do it apart from righteousness, and this book is telling you that a certain lifestyle is righteous, what's holding you back? What's holding you back? You know, and whatever's holding you back is not worth it. You know, your children will adapt. You know, your spouse, your wife will adapt. If not, they'll go on and run back into the world. They'll look back just like Lot's wife did. They'll be all right. You know, man, you got a lot of men out there that are working themselves raggedy. Working themselves raggedy. And what has happened is, as a man, you feel like, you know, possibly you're like, man, I feel like giving up, man. Nothing I do is good enough. Man, when I come across men like that, I tell them, man, you have taken on the expectations of the world and possibly forsaken the expectations of the Most High Yah. The Most High Yah's expectations are not hard. They're simple when you obey it. But if you have devoted your time to fulfill the expectations of worldly people, they're never going to be happy because they're forever wanting. They have a covetous spirit. So because they can't provide for themselves and bear much fruit, what do? They incorporate that into what you think is your responsibility as a man to provide, and they have you going after to provide all of their wants. And you've already given them the necessity. I tell men that these folk that you're going out running yourself ragged for, they don't have no heaven or hell. They don't have no 7 end time judgments to be able to condemn you to. So if the Most High Yah has this simple standard and you just got to obey it, why not follow it? Reduce your amount of stress. Well, I don't want to hear my wife's mouth. Hey, well, oh well. You know, tell her to be prudent and find TV apps and things like that's free that will allow her to be entertained. We spend a lot of money on being entertained instead of working out our salvation. Sad. Deuteronomy chapter 15 verse 6. Let's get there. For Yahuwah Elohake blesses you and promises you, and you shall lend unto many nations, but you shall not borrow, and you shall reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over you. This is the blessings. If you obey this life, you'll be able to offer unto other people and be the lender. But when you don't live according to this lifestyle, you're gonna be the main borrower. Okay, let's look at this. Genesis chapter 1. We'll go back to Bereshit, Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. Because it's not hard, but we just naturally, our flesh doesn't have a willingness to want to do this. 129, and Elohim said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food. I tell you, man, within the last 3 years was my first time ever planting fruit trees on the property. Every year I'm like, I gotta go get some more fruit trees. I think about this. Why would I spend a lifetime of working for currency to go buy fruit that's been tainted in the grocery store when I can go buy a fruit tree for $15? Why would I be buying these high price shoes when I can plant a seed that will, I'm talking about future generations. Once I'm gone and my children, these trees still gonna bear fruit. It make no sense. Let's keep going. Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. But my Elohim shall supply all your need according to his riches. He the one got the riches. He gonna supply your need according to his riches in glory by Mashiach Yahshua. Let's get to let's see where we get. Let's get to good old Jeremiah. Excuse me. Jeremiah 29:5. build you houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. Oh, come on. Man, the first time I heard that message was Pastor Charles Dow of Straightway Truth Ministry. Prior to that, I ain't heard no other jackleg pulpit pimp speak to that. They was too busy telling you to sow seeds in their ministry with currency. And it was very easy. Once I saw that, I met Ock Pierce, in my city, in my town, and he's like, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. And I was able to get after it and bear fruit. Go out there after a rain, and next thing you know, it seemed like 2-3 days, you got new fruit hanging off this stuff. You can go out there and clip it and bring it right into the kitchen. No grocery, cut out the middleman. This is the instructions that we avoid. Matthew chapter 9, verse 35 through 38. And Yahuwah went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the Basor of the kingdom and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion on them because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. Then he said to his Talmudim, the harvest is truly plentiful, but the laborers are few. Pray you therefore, Yah of the harvest, that he will send forth laborers into his harvest. Come on, man. Man, if you're willing to really labor in this thing, you won't have no need that will go unmet. No need. But when your work is, pretty much dedicated to vainness and vanity and things of no righteous substance, you're not going to have time to labor. And the Most High is telling you, man, the harvest is plentiful. Man, there's been so much time where I've been so consumed with work, I can't even, the fruit that I'm growing will rot on the vine because you're so consumed with work. And I said, man, there was times where in the summer, every other day last year, man, I could have had about 2, 3, 4 bell peppers. I was growing so much bell peppers. And then something where work kick in, they're like, man, we want to demand some more of your time. And next thing you know, I come back and all my fruit and my vegetables and sun bolted because I didn't get them in time. Ecclesiastes 7:15. Hate not laborers' work, neither husbandry, which El Elyon has ordained, husbandry, vine dressing, tending to the vine, gardening. The average man today, man, Western culture doesn't want to do labor's work. Why would I want to? I got a degree. What do I want to build my house for? I don't want to get out there and, dirty up these manicured hands and these finely clipped nails. And this is honestly why you have a lot of, you truly have a lot of women that don't respect men because men are not walking in the capacity that the Most High Yah wanted them to walk in. Imagine you want to stay in the air condition and you're expecting all this servitude to be unto you, but as a man, you don't want to labor in the vineyard. He's telling us that to hate not laborers' work. Mark chapter 4, verse 8 through 9. And other fell on good ground, and did yield fruit that sprang up, and increased, and brought forth some 30, and some 60, and some 100. And he said unto them, he that has ears to hear, let him hear. And that's the true, I'm telling you, this is the parable of seeds. Man, the first stuff that I grew was in 5-gallon buckets. And having the knowledge that I know now, I got a greenhouse to where I can keep yielding year round. You think about that, man. But you got to plant a real seed on good ground. I'm telling you, you know, folks are giving their money, their currency to these ministries, and they're not planting any seeds themselves, and they're not bearing any fruit. They're not bearing much fruit. A lot of these jacklegs, man, are taking your currency that you have given them, going to the grocery store, buying their food, and you here praying to the Most High, Yah, will He provide? And this book is telling you to sow some seeds. Biggest scam out there, telling you to sow some seeds. But you don't have time. Giving your life to the world, trying to obtain substance and all of this stuff. John chapter 15, verse 5 through 8. I am the vine, and you are the Netzirium, the branches. He that abides in me, and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abides not in me, he casts forth as a branch and is withered, and men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit, so you shall be my Talmudim, my disciples, followers. Man, it's not hard. It's your flesh. The desires of your flesh is gonna keep you from doing this. Matthew chapter 3, verse 8. Bring forth therefore fruits meet for repentance. Bear fruit in keeping with repentance. And you got to think about it. The reason we don't want to turn from our sin is because oftentimes we're trying to fund sinful entertainment. We're trying to fund our sinful habits. And the Most High, Yah, wants you to have a change of mind to turn from. But we don't bear no fruit in this area. Why? Because we're so consumed with working in vain. Keep going. James chapter 3, verse 18. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. You got to understand, man, it's hard to maintain your ruach when the whole purpose that you think your existence is to do something that's not the work that he's talking about. You're going to wonder why these people in the world are stressing you out. You know, wonder why your employer is stressing you out so much. It's hard to maintain your ruach in these places that have people don't have the ruach. These organizations that's not led of the ruach, that's religious but don't care about righteousness. This is the importance of fruit. Romans chapter 6, verse 22. But now, being made free from sin and become servants to Elohim, you have your fruit unto holiness, and the end everlasting life. Man, we're supposed to be bearing the fruit of holiness. Not the fruit of the world, the fruit of holiness. Be holy as I am holy. Most High Yah didn't give you any instructions that are unholy. But people say, you know what? I really ain't got time for all that holiness. So religion's going to have to do because that's all I got time for. And when you're saying that, what you're saying is, man, I don't have time to work out my salvation because I'm so consumed with all of this other stuff in the world. Sad. Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 through 26. But the fruit of the Ruach is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such thing there is no law put in place. And they that are Yahuwah HaMashiachs have crucified the flesh with the afflictions and lust. If we live in the Ruach, let us also walk in the Ruach. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. Come on, man. This is it's driving this home. It's driving it home. It's This is why we are oftentimes in and out of the ruach, in and out of it. It's hard for us to shake, to turn from a lot of these sins, a lot of these transgressions, because, man, you got to think, man, if we're walking in the ruach, it says, let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. That's why we battling with this stuff. The ruach is not leading you to be covetous, to be envious of what somebody else got, to be ungrateful. The ruach is not leading you to be, not content with what you have. That's the spirit of the world that's leading you like that. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 26, verse 3 through 4. And we will go ahead and Leviticus 26, verse 3 through 4. Let me get there. And we'll go ahead and close this thing out. Leviticus 26, verse 3 through 4. If you walk in my statutes and guard my commandments and do them, that's right in line with be a doer of the word. Then I will give you rain in due season, and the land shall yield her increase, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit, and your threshing shall reach unto the vintage, and the vintage shall reach unto the sowing time, and you shall eat your bread to the full, and dwell in your land safely. And I will give you peace in the land, lying down with nothing to fear, and the Sabbath of life. Though evil be a part of the land, there is no sword to bring in the land. Come on, man. That's a good life. That's a good life. The Most High Yah is carving out. Every time you're working out your salvation, when your life is set on working out your salvation, man, you're carving this out for yourself. When you're walking in righteousness, man, the Most High Yah is not going to lead you to some hard soil. He's going to lead you to a place that's going to be fruitful. Man, go look up videos of the actual Jerusalem and look how green it is. Imagine being led to a place to where you don't need to buy no fertilizer. Man, there's places in this country that is so fertile to where you don't need to put no fertilizer on the soil. I live in a place where you got to test the soil and add all these nutrients. Imagine going to a place where whatever you plant and put a seed in the ground, it just sprouts up. Takes the first go around. Every seed you plant is taken. Man, that is the level of blessing the Most High Yah wants to give us. But it tells us, it's very serious. If you walk in my statutes, guard my commandments, and do them, then I will give you rain in due season. It's people out here trying to turn acres and acres of unfertile soil into fertile soil. You ain't getting no rain. You ain't got no rainy season. And it's a hard way of living. But it's better than living in the world. Better than living in the world. Man, I hope I've said something today that helps you gain some understanding, that edifies you, that strengthens you on your walk. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, what religion you are a part of, what you believe. A lot of people have taken this book and gone 30 ways to Sunday with this thing, but there's only one truth of this book. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to do you believe that you should obey? You believe that you should obey, and you start obeying, then you'll really see what true blessings are. And it won't be this prosperity ministry type blessings that's only involving currency, only involving money, only involving stuff and things. You can be blessed without having an abundance of things. That's what I want you to realize. And most importantly, you might be out here working. The reason the Most High Yah isn't opening up another door for you to be able to enter into what I'm saying is because you're blessed beyond belief, and you haven't even thanked him for the simple blessings that he's given you, because you're so busy trying to make and fund your own blessings that are not from him. Man, I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day of the Shabbat. Take some time and meditate and dwell on his word as well as this message. It's not an easy message to hear when you have everybody focused on living worldly. living in sin, living according to the system of the heathens. This is truly not an easy message to hear in the last days, but I hope it gives you some inspiration. Hope it convicts you to say, you know what, man, I can make, changes in my life. And that's what repentance is, a change of mind. And there's plenty of examples that we can look at and start to model after. But the Most High Yah gave us a righteous example in his word, a holy example for us to follow. He gave us a holy example in Hamashiach. You look at his works, and what was he working for? He was working for the will of the Most High Yah. He was working to give us an example. I want you to understand, his life, his works was to leave us an example. So what are you working for? Glory to the King. The King is coming. Turn from your sins. Shabbat Shalom, Israel. Close to the Yah Ministries, kicking it gun barrel straight.